So we're going to talk about the future of e-commerce here. So, and a lot of it has to do with the partnerships and the stuff that we've talked about before. Quick show of hands, get them up there. Who here has 25% or more of their total sales revenue is through e-commerce? 25% or more? 2?
Tony.
Awesome. 15? Get them up a little higher? None. Okay. So that brings me to this. This segment is not sponsored by these guys. I don't like them. I have a lot of respect for them, but I'm not really a big fan of those guys. In fact, if you've read anything that I've ever read about written about these guys, I can tell you that I put my phone number at the bottom of the columns now because I'm waiting for Amazon Legal to call me and say, hey, Scott, that's enough. But I think we need to know what the future of e-commerce is, and if you don't think it's them, here's some stats. This is their second quarter earnings. Just came out 2 weeks ago, less than that, of 2016. Over the last 3 months, $30.4 billion in sale. But that's okay, because they were only scheduled to make $30 billion as it is in April, May, and June. They made $30.4 billion. Their stock price is up 12% to nearly $700 a share. I actually just looked at it this morning, $770 a share. The experts say that it'll go to about $900 to $920 a share by the end of this calendar year. The net revenue, by the way, for the next 3 months is expected to be somewhere between $31 and $33.5 billion this year. And just so you know, they passed ExxonMobil to become the 4th largest publicly traded company in the world, behind some other companies that you might have heard about, Apple, Google, Microsoft. Okay? So there's this guy that I also follow named Chamath Palihapitiya. He's the CEO of Social Capital LP, which is a venture capitalist firm. When the cable companies want a guy who wants to talk about stocks and the future of investing, they go to this guy, by the way, so he's pretty smart. So he was at a conference where a bunch of other venture capitalists were there, and this is what he said. This is just the beginning for Amazon. In fact, we believe that this is a $3 trillion company in the next 10 years. So I wrote it out. That's a 3. That's 12 zeros. That's the future of e-commerce that your customers are going to use. But we're B2B. So Amazon's got that. Amazon Business. Okay, and just so you're curious to hear how Amazon Business is doing, they were created in 2015 in May. They're a spinoff for Amazon Supply. They decided to call themselves Amazon Business. They have 400,000 customers that they've been able to put together over the past year. They're growing at a rate of 20% a month. Give or take, about another 80,000 customers will join them in August. In the past year, they've had $1 billion in B2B wholesale distribution sales. Who had 15%? They had $1 billion. Now, it's not just electrical, don't get me wrong, it's not. But they're growing because they're offering incentives to customers, a line of credit to their medium-sized customers, so they're going from there. But we got them because we have people who know products and they don't. Son of a bitch. They're hiring principal product managers for Amazon Business. And I don't know if you can really see this line that I underlined right here really well. Second line of the job description. Hey, interested in leveraging technology to disrupt the B2B landscape? I hate them. They couldn't even wait till the third line. They're targeting you by hiring people, but they're not going to hire a lot. Oh, wait, I don't know if you can see this, but they have 11,118 open positions at Amazon Business.
My God.
So they're going after what our strengths are. And that's the future of e-commerce in B2B. Right there. That's what our competition is. So we stand around and we talk about partnerships. Kelly talked about it today. Dirk talked about it earlier. We're the necessary evil. We're whatever. This is what we hear from your bosses and sometimes from you. Can't Amazon Amazon? And you're right. You can't. But we can out Amazon Amazon if we work together. You already have customers. Don't let them get away. You need to work together with your partners so that the experience that they have on Amazon or on Amazon Business is the same experience they have on your website and their website and your website. And that's why we're having this panel discussion today, because we need to talk about 10 years from now when Amazon's worth $3 trillion. Because we can't let them take our customers. Does that make sense? It does, and it's scary, and it's why I don't like them. It's why I write about them all the time, and why we're doing this panel discussion. So joining us over here, we have some experts, which is great. We have Della Coffelt, who's with IEC Supply Solutions. She's one of our suppliers who does, thanks for being here. Phil Hale with Elliott Electric. You can applaud him, he's awesome too. Pam Nations with Springfield Electric Supply. Great. So that's our distributor side, and we had to get somebody, obviously, who is from the supplier side. We got Howie Sue with Siemens Industry. Here's what I can tell you about Howie. Go ahead and applaud him first. The first time I met Howie was at a AdVenture conference a number of years ago, and the first thing he said for me is, Scott, I got a question for you. We want to start providing 3D images. I'm like, I love you already, don't say anything else. I mean, so you know he understands data and he understands what he wants to supply to his customers and to distributors. So I'm really excited to have all four of you up here. Thanks so much for digging into this with us, because it's really important. So I'm going to start with the distributors first, and we'll kind of build from there. Della, I'll start with actually, Phil, I'm going to start with you. What are your customers telling you they want from your e-commerce offering?
Well, it varies by customer. I think it's important for distributors to have flexible systems going into the future, because as we work with each contractor or industrial account, we see that they all want something different. And the best thing for us is sit down with them, find out what their needs are, and find the services that we can market and distribute to them. So whether that's pricing and data to their estimating packages, customized billing, to information on new products, easier to find items, or EDI type of transactions, whether they're XML, basically, or using third-party sites like Ariba, Oracle Supplier Networks, to handling inventories in trucks, trailers, wherever it may be. So it's really understanding the needs of the contractors and be able to provide that service. It's all about services.
Right. And so and I'm going to ask the rest of you too, what's your commitment to, at Elliott, what's your commitment to e-commerce? People, dollars, things, and you don't have to get too deep into it, but how committed are you to it just to remain on a competitive landscape?
We're very committed. We put a lot of resources. We are not a huge company, but we have 30 developers that do nothing but work on customizing solutions for...
How many?
30 in-house developers.
Wow.
Then
did you see my face when you said that? I was like,
and that's not just for customers. We work with our manufacturer partners as well, but we're looking at developing, whether it's apps, transactions, or systems all together to tighten that integration between our manufacturers and customers. Absolutely.
Right. And Della, what are you hearing from your customers? Because you're just launching, correct?
Yes, we are just launching. We're hearing a lot of excitement. People have been waiting for this for quite some time. Our partner provides us with pretty much a standalone, kind of a plug-and-play system. So we're in the process of cleaning data and loading data at this point.
And what's your commitment so far, and where do you see it going, I guess, at IEC?
Well, our initial commitment is really heavy. I mean, it's most of the IT staff as well as several key people within IEC. Where we see it going is really looking at some of the new technology of predictive sales. So I'm looking at some of the new artificial intelligence and finding ways to integrate that with the current system that we're implementing. Because ultimately, the predictive sales is where I see it going. One of the services that we're hearing from our customers is help in maintenance, help in understanding when a part is due to fail. And so with predictive sales, we know what equipment they bought before, we know when those parts are due to fail, and so we can offer the predictive sales versus here's what you've bought in the past. These are the products. Instead now, the artificial intelligence can kick in and start saying, this part's going to fail within X number of months.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that you just said was where I see it going. So, for the check writers, how are you able to, for anybody here who's trying to say, hey, where I see it going is, how are you able to convince other folks to say, we need to invest more in this. This is where I see it going. So what's that conversation? How does it happen where you say, this is where I see it going and this is where it's essential? How does that work so that you can continue to build?
Well, initially you have to have first that conversation. So you have to start just talking about, here's what I envision. And then you have to find the technology. So you have to go out and find the technology. So I've partnered up with some friends that are really leading edge on the Internet of Things technologies. And so what we're doing is coming up with some options, and then we'll reach out and take the next step, and then we prototype. Mm-hmm. And then we start proving that what we think is going to work will actually work.
Right. And then Pam, Springfield's changed your position, changed your role. Explain kind of why Springfield decided to do this, sort of where it's taking you and where you see it going.
Sure. So we're not as big of a company as Elliott is, so I'm jealous. I can't have 30 programmers at my disposal. So we have to rely on third parties to help us with some of those things. Well, I started in marketing, doing brochures, flyers, everything that you normally do, and e-commerce, and CRM, and SharePoint. Well, that became, too much, so we added more staff, and we turned my focus strictly to e-commerce. So I'm e-business analyst now. I do e-commerce for both, the PC and mobile, but a big piece to e-commerce is finding the right platform, investing in that, and then training your associates on the value of e-commerce. Your customers are going to come and use it, but if your associates don't understand the value, your own associates don't understand how to sell that to the customer, that's a key piece, so we believe in training. But the other things that are important to us is the data, because your site is only as good as the data, and I don't have a lot of people to help clean that up, so that's where we rely on our manufacturers, supplying that data to all the data warehouses, not just one or the other, but we need it everywhere. But that's how important we feel it is we invested in more marketing associates so that I can work on just e-commerce. That's how big of a piece of our business we feel e-commerce is.